Okay, so today is the second part of this project. When we saw each other last week, we did the first two layers of our value project. The first layer we traced 5 to 7, and we colored in a very light value. Then we learned how to overlap behind, and we created about 3 to 5 medium values. And today we're going to move into our third layer, which is going to be a dark layer, not the darkest, but a dark layer. And to do that, I'm going to look for some areas in my composition that look like they might need a little something. Now, I'm not going to be able to fill in every area, but I'm going to look for those areas that still look pretty big, pretty empty. And I'm going to trace behind again, and this time I'm going to make sure that I am not I'm not drawing on anything that's already there. And I like to kind of move my stencil around a little bit. It helps me find a design that I think I like best. And I think this one is really nice because it gets a large area in. So I'm just going to very lightly trace my hedgehog. I'm going to stop when I get to a hedgehog that's already there, and then go past it, stop again, and go past it. So here you can see I drew part of a hedgehog, and I drew him behind the other two layers. And I'm going to keep doing that until I fill up all of my spaces, and then I will be ready to start to add value. And I'll just show you on this one so the video is not too long, but then you can also see the pictures in the PowerPoint. So once I've traced all of my third layer, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a value that is darker than my medium value and darker than my light value, but is not the darkest value I can make. And the first thing I'm going to do is trace over my hedgehog shape, because I would like it to be nice and dark. Okay, notice I traced around all of them so far. And then I'm going to add my dark value, going all in one direction. Now, you can remember that sometimes when we make a dark value, as we did when we did our value scales and our gradient practice, that sometimes to get a nice dark value, you have to go over it more than once. Also, to create a dark value, you're adding extra pressure to your pencil as you're coloring. I am not pushing down as hard as I can. I'm just giving some nice, strong pressure, and you can see that I'm creating a value that is darker than my medium value. Now, having a sharpened pencil really helps with that. So if your pencil has gotten a little dull since we started this project, take a minute and sharpen it up so that you can really get your values the way you want to. Also, don't forget that we'll be blending some, and you can blend with your finger or a tissue or a napkin or a square of toilet paper or a blending stump if you have one. A blending stump is an art supply that looks like a pencil, but it's made out of paper, and you can peel it when it gets dirty. I have some here in my studio somewhere, but I don't know exactly where, and I'm not going to look for them now because I can just use my finger if I need to. So the darker values take a little bit longer, but if you take your time, you'll have a nice craftsmanship, and that is what we are going for in a finished art project. This is not just a sketch in our sketchbook, but an actual project that we are going to turn in for a summative grade. And so sometimes students say, "Is this good enough, Miss Heiser?" And I just want to remind you that we're not aiming for good enough. We're aiming for our best. And so when you think you've done your absolute best, then you'll know you're finished. Okay, so I will go around and add in the rest of these, and then when I'm done, I'm going to, for my very last background areas, add my darkest value. And because I know this little area right here is not going to have anything in it, I am going to show you right now what that's going to look like. It would help me a lot if I was leaning on something else right now, because as you can see, my table is a little bit not even in some areas. And this time I'm really pushing down as hard as I possibly can. I am going in more than one direction and going over it more than once because I really want that value to be nice and dark. Here is that opportunity if you have some of those drawing pencils that are just B pencils, not HB pencils, like we talked about. This would be a great time to break out some of those B pencils to really get those nice dark values. And I could keep going, but you can see that this value is definitely darker than the one next to it. So, look in the PowerPoint to watch step by step, and then you'll be able to see how this turns out. I hope this video helped you. Thanks.